Please give a big welcome to Dan Badger.
Thanks. So yeah, I own a brewery a little south of Plattsburgh, but I grew up just next door to here, over in Potsdam. Go Knights. And when I was growing up, my parents did something that a lot of parents do, and they lied to me. And they told me I was special. And I know they were just trying to be good parents, but it kind of messed me up. It went to my head a little bit. I didn't know how to handle it. So I went to preschool, and I was wondering why I needed to be there with all of these other rock eaters when I knew that I alone was meant for greatness. And I carried that attitude to real school, where I started doing all the things, tracing the letters perfectly, drawing in between the lines with precision, fulfilling the prophecy. And things were going along great until fourth grade, when I finally faced the devil in the form of a petite, pale-skinned young girl named Annie Valente. And even then, I had to admit that Annie was cunning. She always did her homework assignments on time. She also colored within the lines pretty well. And the teacher loved her. And so we were bitter rivals. We battled on every homework assignment, every test, and she always seemed to eke out a victory. But I knew that I was going to get her at some point, It was only a matter of time. And to be fair, Annie didn't know that we were competing. She was just a sweet, smart, well-adjusted young girl going about her business. And it turns out that I am a psychopath. And I was losing my goddamn mind. But finally, this assignment came up that I knew was mine. We had to write a story about anything. We had a week to do it. And it was fourth grade. I hadn't been published yet, but I'd always fancied myself a novelist. So I began composing a compelling story about a young boy, loosely based off myself, and his dog. And one day they were out playing, like they were wont to do, and all of a sudden the dog climbed into a hot air balloon that was sitting there. And suddenly a gust of wind came along and whooshed the hot air balloon up into the sky. And the boy went on a harrowing adventure to try to get his dog back. And I'll admit that the story was a little vague as far as why there was a hot air balloon there. Untethered with 0 adults around. But this story was meant for the box office, baby. We don't need to get bogged down with details and explanations. The important thing was that my story was longer than Annie Valente's story. And so every morning at the beginning of class, before we started writing, I'd ask Annie Valente how many pages she was up to. And she'd tell me, and then in my mind, I would think, fuck, I need to come up with more stuff. And I didn't even know that word at that time. It just came to me like a revelation. So, as this boy was finally closing in on the hot air balloon, all of a sudden it started losing steam and it came down to the ground. And the boy ran up to it to finally get his dog back. And suddenly another gust of wind swept the hot air balloon up in the sky, and the boy had to chase after it all over again. And I thought, I could drag this out for a while. And when all was said and done, the story went on. My font got a little bit larger. My spacing got a little wider. But goddamn, if Annie Valente's story was 31 pages, mine was 32 pages. I won. I beat the devil. And my favorite part is thinking about the teacher having to read all these stories. And I hope that she started with all the 4 to 6 page novellas first, got those out of the way for the real meat and potatoes. And then I hope that she read Annie Valente's story, made herself a nice cup of tea, sat down in her favorite easy chair, settled in as a proud teacher to listen to the mind of this brilliant young girl who already was so thoughtful that she needed 31 pages to get everything out, everything down that she wanted to. And then she had to suffer through 32 pages of rambling, meaningless, utter dog shit while she contemplated early retirement. And I found that story recently when I was going through some stuff, and I did get an A on it. I'm sure she got an A+. And it taught me an early lesson, in all seriousness, about the difference between quality and quantity. So if anybody comes and visits us at Keeseville Brewing Company, I'm proud to say that while we don't always make the best beer, God damn it, we make a lot of it. Thank you, guys.